There are still no arrests made in the murder of 30-year-old Chicago police officer Luis Huesca. But the Chicago PD just released this video of the suspected killer, warning he's believed to be armed and dangerous. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson did not attend the press conference to update the public on the search for the cop killer, but he did make time to be part of the groundbreaking ceremony for the new airport terminal at Chicago's O'Hare Airport. And on top of that, Johnson is pushing a $1.25 billion migrant housing plan, despite already spending over $300 million. John Garrido is a retired Chicago police lieutenant, and he joins me now. John, good morning to you. We should note that it's Officer Huesca's birthday today. He would have been 31 years old had he not been murdered in what police are describing an apparent carjacking while driving home from work, still in his uniform. What went through your head when you heard about this?
You know, it's heartbreaking whenever we hear that we lose an officer. We have a saying that the number one priority is for our officers to get home safely to their families at the end of their tour of duty. And now here in Chicago, this is the second time within a year that we've had an officer literally executed on their way home from work. You know, you kind of think when you're leaving the station, and not that it's a conscious thought, but, you know, your day is done. Your end of your shift. You're done crime fighting for the day. And for this to happen is just heartbreaking.
So we now have surveillance video of a suspect. We don't know anything about him. But from your experience, what are the chances that somebody who murders a police officer is a first-time offender?
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, it's almost as if they're seeing the uniform that the officer is wearing, and they're leveling up from robbery to murder. These criminals are they're predators. They're out there in the streets. Our carjackings in Chicago are through the roof. I know they'll tell you, well, we're trending down. We're double at 1,300 carjackings last year. We're over double what we were before the pandemic. It's really getting out of hand.
And now you got to look at city leadership. As we said, Mayor Brandon Johnson, he didn't attend the press conference announcing Officer Huesca's death and talking about the details of what police know at that time. Instead, he released a statement. But yesterday, he was all smiles at this airport groundbreaking at Chicago's O'Hare Airport. What are your thoughts on his leadership?
It's disgraceful and a slap in the face to every Chicago police officer that he couldn't take the time out of his busy schedule to get out there to show respect for the officer, for a fallen officer. I don't ever remember a mayor missing the street press conference. And this is the press conference that usually takes place right away within an hour or two after, the investigation gets started. It was about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. There's absolutely nothing else that he could have been doing that was more important than being out there to show respect for the officer and their family and our fellow officers.
Without question. And on top of that, as you mentioned, Chicago crime is on the rise with over 1,600 cases of aggravated battery, 546 cases of criminal sexual assault, 131 murders, and over 2,500 robberies. John, what needs to change?
What we need to change is we need to take politics out of law enforcement. We need to let the officers get out there and do the job that they're hired to do. And these politicians need to back up these officers. I mean, just him missing that press conference, that sends a message to the officers that we're not the priority. And that's got to change. Right now, they're having a hard time even hiring officers. We're losing officers in droves. Almost 1,100 officers last year resigned or retired from the Chicago Police Department. And a lot of these are lateral transfers. They're not leaving law enforcement, but they're leaving Chicago police law enforcement.
Chicago's police superintendent Larry Snelling said Officer Huesca was a victim of the type of crime that he was working against to keep people in the city safe. This is an absolute tragedy, and he would have turned 31 years old today. My heart breaks for him, his mom, who is remembering the day that he was born, 2 days after he died. It's a horrific loss. John, thank you so much for joining us.